What if, right now, as you're watching this, the world tipped over the edge? What if the simmering tensions we read about daily finally boiled over and World War III began? Today. This isn't a blockbuster movie plot. This is a look into what could happen in our real fragile world. Let's pull back the curtain and explore a future we must strive to prevent. Within mere minutes of the first hostile act, a chilling domino effect would begin. The world's nuclear powers, the United States, Russia, China, and others, would instantly elevate their defense readiness to the highest possible levels. Deep within fortified bunkers and aboard silent submarines, thousands of nuclear warheads, each many times more powerful than the bombs of 1945, would be armed and awaiting their launch codes. This isn't just about a few missiles. It's a global network of unimaginable destructive power, a hair-trigger system where a single miscalculation could unleash Armageddon. The skies, once filled with commercial airliners, would be cleared for military aircraft. Global communication networks would be saturated with encrypted military traffic, as leaders make decisions that could determine the fate of billions in a matter of moments. The silence before this storm would be the most terrifying sound on Earth. The first targets wouldn't be remote military bases. They would be the very hearts of our civilization. Imagine the iconic skylines of New York, the historic grandeur of Moscow, the bustling energy of Beijing, and the timeless streets of London, all becoming ground zero. The initial blasts would vaporize city centers in a flash of blinding light, followed by shock waves that would flatten everything for miles. But the immediate destruction is only the beginning. The electromagnetic pulse, or EMP, from high-altitude detonations would fry electronic circuits across entire continents. The satellite networks that power our GPS, our banking systems, and our global communications would go dark. The internet, the very fabric of our modern society, would collapse. Plunged into darkness and silence, the survivors in these regions would be utterly cut off, thrown back into a pre-industrial age amidst a radioactive ruin. With transportation and communications severed, the global economy would implode. The intricate web of international trade that brings us everything from our coffee to our smartphones would be torn apart instantly. Cargo ships would be stranded at sea, planes grounded, and supply chains disintegrated. Stock markets in every functioning part of the world would experience a crash so catastrophic, it would make the Great Depression look like a minor dip. The value of currencies would evaporate. Your life savings, your stocks, your retirement funds, all could become worthless digital ghosts on dead servers. Bartering for essential goods like canned food, clean water, and medicine would replace financial transactions. The world's economic system, built over centuries, would be dismantled not in years, but in hours. Beyond the immediate human and economic toll, the planet itself would be grievously wounded. The immense firestorms in incinerated cities would inject millions of tons of black soot and dust high into the stratosphere. This dark shroud would spread across the globe, blocking out the sun's rays. The result would be a phenomenon known as a nuclear winter. Global average temperatures would plummet, potentially by dozens of degrees, triggering a new artificial ice age. Growing seasons would fail worldwide. Sunlight-starved forests would wither and die, and marine ecosystems would collapse as phytoplankton, the base of the ocean's food chain, perish in the cold and darkness. We would face a world of perpetual twilight, a cold, gray landscape where nature itself is dying. In this bleak, frozen world, the struggle for humanity's survival would begin. With agriculture having failed globally, the world's food reserves would be consumed within months. Clean water, a resource we take for granted, would become lethally contaminated with radioactive fallout, making every sip a gamble. Billions would face starvation, radiation sickness, and disease. Law and order would break down, and the structures of society, governments, hospitals, communities would dissolve. The fight for dwindling resources would pit survivor against survivor. The knowledge, art, and culture accumulated over millennia could be lost forever. Civilization as we know it, with all its complexities and wonders, could effectively cease to exist in less than a year. What remains would be a scattered, traumatized remnant of humanity, struggling to endure on a poisoned planet. But maybe the most terrifying aspect of this scenario isn't the war itself, or the nuclear winter that follows. It's not the collapse of civilization. The scariest part is looking at our world today and recognizing the fault lines, the rhetoric, and the escalating tensions that make this What if feel less like fiction and more like a potential headline. The power to prevent this future is still in our hands. It requires understanding, diplomacy, and a shared commitment to peace. Because the only way to win World War III is to ensure it never begins. This is What If Verse. Thank you for joining us on this sobering journey. If you find these thought experiments valuable, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Imagine, learn, survive.